Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back to Paris History Avec Hemingway, and I am back with Claudine Hemingway, who has a very special birthday today. So I hope you guys send her some love through social media because it's a big one. It's our 50th episode of Paris History Avec Hemingway, but it's also Claudine's 50th birthday. So make sure you send her a message, send her some positive vibes, and we're going to learn about the ladies of the Louvre for our 50th episode. And I'll let Claudine take it from here.
50. I was, at first I was like, I'm not too excited about this, but after everything I've been going through recently with my health, I've kind of I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's just embrace it.
Yeah, exactly. Every day is a gift.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll just embrace it. But it was pretty awesome the day I figured out that our 50th episode would be on my 50th birthday. I was like, oh, well, we got to do something big. And you asked me, you're like, who's your favorite person? I was like, I've already talked about all of them. So we're doing something a little bit differently today. Instead of talking about a specific woman, we're going to talk about one of my very favorite, my very favorite place, the Louvre, and the three big ladies of the Louvre.
I love this idea because there are a lot of very important ladies hanging in the Louvre.
There are, and a lot of them, like maybe a lot of people don't know the backstory. So, of course, we have to start out with Mona Lisa. And of course, she is definitely the most famous woman there that everybody comes and sees and leaves.
Take your selfie and get out.
Yeah, but what is most interesting when I had this book about Mona Lisa that I read, and I just was so interested in the fact that, we know her as Mona Lisa, one of the most repeated images that you could see probably everywhere in the world. I think everybody in the world probably knows who the Mona Lisa is as far as the painting, but they probably don't know who the actual woman was. And I don't even think I've ever thought before that this would be an actual person.
Yeah, I never actually thought about her story. I always just thought it was like Leonardo dressed in drag or something.
That is. Some people tried to say that it was Leonardo dressed in drag.
Yeah, that's her story, So maybe you're going to set the record straight. Was she a real person?
She was a real person. Her name was Lisa di Antonio Gherardini. She was born in Florence on June 15th, 1479.
Wow. She is a real person. I love it.
Yeah, real person. She was born to a very noble family, landowning family from Tuscany. And at 15 years old, on March 5th, 1495, she married Francesco del Giocondo. And which is probably that's not the French way to say it. But Giocondo came from a very rich family that was involved in the silk trade. At that time, Florence was, not only did they have the Medici family and all of the money, but they were also like textiles was a huge thing at that time in Italy. And so his family was making a ton of money on that. And so the union, of course, benefited both of the families on either side because there was so much money on both sides for him.
She was rich?
She was rich. Well, her family was rich. Family was rich. Yeah. So Francesco, he had been married, but his wife died He actually had a couple children with his former wife. So he was 14 years older than Lisa, of course. And so they ended up having quite a few children on their own, but only a few of them actually survived childhood.
That was normal back then, though.
That was unfortunately pretty normal. The couple lived really close to the Basilique Santa Croce, which was very close to where Leonardo da Vinci's father also lived.
So they were bound to run into each other.
Yes. So Francesco commissioned Leonardo to paint a portrait of his wife. And Leonardo needed the money at the time, so he accepted the job, and because he didn't have a lot going on at the time. So she had just given birth to her son Andrea in 1502 when she sat for him, but it was at the same time when she gave birth, one of their children died. So he painted her, and she was wearing her mourning attire. So it's very hard when you look at the Mona Lisa because there's been so many years that they really need to restore it, but I can't imagine how they're going to do that. It would have to be taken down, and people would freak out. But it has layers and layers and layers of all sorts of things on it it has made the painting very, very dark as to what it should be. So it's kind of hard to really see what her clothing is other than it just looking dark.
So it actually is a black dress, or is that just a lot of dirt on there?
There's actually like a red sash that I think she has like kind of over her arm, but it's very hard to see that in the painting today.
That's so interesting. So she was mourning the loss of her child, and that's why she was wearing that outfit.
Yeah. And there was actually a copy of the painting made that's actually in the Louvre collection. It's not on display, but it's in the Louvre collection. It's in the MNR, which is which is basically the art that was recovered after the war, thanks to our favorite Rose Valland. And was a copy that somebody painted, but it's in this collection. You could find it now on the redone Louvre website, which is so incredible. You could find it on there, and I actually just put it in my newsletter a couple weeks ago, but you could kind of see in that painting the difference of color. It's so much lighter, and you kind of get the idea of what Mona Lisa should actually look like.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I'll put a picture of it on my website for this episode. But it's really interesting, like if they actually got it cleaned. I don't know how they would do that, because people, if they came to the Louvre and she wasn't hanging there, they'd just completely freak out. But up in, I think, Amsterdam, they've been restoring the Night Watch painting, and they're doing it in front of people. So they have this whole plexiglass, room set up, and you could actually sit there and watch the restorers.
That's so fascinating. I just interviewed a woman that used to restore paintings in Italy, like from churches, and the whole thing is fascinating to me with the way they do that stuff.
So fascinating. You see them put like these, chemicals on a Q-tip. I don't know. I'd be terrified to do it.
I wouldn't touch it. I'd be too afraid of breaking it.
It's like I just erased Mona Lisa's nose. What do I do now?
That sounds like Mr. Bean. You ever see that movie?
Yeah, totally. Be like, oops, are those really bad, those pictures of people that restore a statue, and then they come out and they just look horrible.
So she was a real woman. She was not Leonardo in drag, and she was mourning the loss of a child.
Yeah, so she was really a real person. He had worked on this painting for a while. Leonardo was very, very slow, but he stopped working on it because he actually got a few large commissions to paint a mural in one of the churches in Venice. So he actually stopped working on Mona Lisa at the time for a while. Francesco became a civil servant and was elected to a very esteemed post at the same time. And then but he was thought to be working for the exiled Medici family at the time. So he was tossed into prison, and he never finished. He never paid Leonardo for the painting.
Oh, whoops. I guess Leonardo kept it.
Yeah, so Leonardo kept it, but Francesco got out of prison when the Medicis returned to Florence and bailed him out.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, but he would die in 1539 from the plague. And Lisa would go on to live with her daughter at a convent. And so she would live out the rest of her life there. And she died on July 15th, 1542.
So we do have information on her. And are there books written about her? Anything like that?
Yeah, I read a book about her. I also bought this book that at the Louvre that was I think it's called like Why is the Mona Lisa Famous? It was really interesting and had it had basically a whole story about her in there. It's kind of a cute little book that's just got a lot of drawings and stuff, and why is she famous, and her image around the world, and how she is seen and stuff. And so that's where I first discovered that this was the most information about her.
Isn't she famous because she was stolen? Is
Yes.
that like the main reason?
Yeah, so we'll get to that. But first, in December 1515, Francois I, the King of France, was in Bologna, and that's where he to go meet Pope Leo IX, and Leonardo da Vinci was also there. And Francois asked him to create a mechanical lion for him that would move and hold flowers.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that was, that 1515. Like he wanted a robot in 1515.
Who didn't want a robot?
Yeah. So Francesco was so taken by Leonardo that he asked him to come back to France with him. And Leonardo said, sure. So Leonardo packs up his paintings, including the Mona Lisa, and moves to the Loire Valley to live out his last 3 years of his life. He, was famous for taking forever to finish a painting. Some of his paintings are unfinished. You would have never really know if you looked just by looking at them, but some of them were unfinished. He would like to meditate on them. Like he'd work on them for a little bit and then he'd think about it and go work on a different painting. So he brought all these paintings with him at the time. Some of the paintings he just gave to Francois, and then some of them he purchased from Leonardo.
He's just hanging out in the Loire Valley.
Yeah, and those paintings are basically what created the basis of the collection of the Louvre.
Oh, that's what created the start of it.
Yeah, because Francois was really interested in art and was in the Italian Renaissance, and then starting the French Renaissance. And so he loved art. And so he was starting to collect a lot of it. And that's what basically he was the first one that decided, we need a museum and we need to keep, have all of these things. Of course, the Louvre didn't open for 200 more years. But he was the one who basically was acquiring all of this art that's kind of started the collection.
I had no idea. There you go, guys. Learn something new.
So Mona Lisa, as her name, in France they call her La Gioconde, but Mona Lisa is actually a shorter version of Madonna. Mona is short for Madonna, meaning lady. And so Lisa, of course, was her first name. So that's where the name Mona Lisa kind of came from.
Lady Lisa.
Lady Lisa. But like you said, she became famous because she was stolen. Before she was stolen at that time, the Louvre the way they would hang paintings was like literally floor to ceiling. Not like today where, here's a painting and 3 feet later is another painting. It was literally floor to ceiling, frames touching, paintings going up the wall. The Louvre was also much, much smaller at that point. It wasn't the size that we know today. But she was just basically on a wall, just like any other painting. No big deal. Nobody looked at her any differently. But a gentleman in 1911, an Italian gentleman, Vincenzo Perugia, decided that he wanted to avenge Italy and Napoleon's looting. And steal the painting and take it back to Italy.
I love it. That's so funny.
The painting had nothing to do with Napoleon. Napoleon did not steal this painting from Italy, as we know from what we just told you. It had, that's what he thought. So he took this painting, and because he took it, it became, it kind of became this big thing. He basically pulled it. He worked at the Louvre. He basically pulled it off the wall and walked out.
It was so easy back then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now there'd be no way. Now it's like if you even get close to touching something, they'll scream at you.
Wait, so he worked there too?
He worked there, and he worked there and just decided one day that he was just going to take it. And he literally just put it under his arm. I mean, luckily she's a smaller, she's not a very large painting, which is what everybody's always shocked about when they finally see it. He didn't steal like one of like the Rubens paintings of, the coronation of Marie de Medici. I mean, there'd be no way for you to carry that out.
He's just like mine and
Yeah.
walk it out.
So for 2 years it was missing. And they didn't know where it was. And they would actually bring in Picasso and his friend Guillaume Apollinaire to question them because there was a friend of Apollinaire's who would actually go into the Louvre and steal like the little sculptures, like the little, the more African looking sculptures at the time. He would go in there and just take it. And then he would like sometimes give them to Picasso or give them to Apollinaire. So Apollinaire thought, I'll go to the police and say, hey, this guy I know has been stealing things from the Louvre. Maybe look into it. Well, they decided, hey, we're going to just arrest you.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then they brought Picasso in, and Picasso kind of threw his friend Apollinaire like under the bus. And Apollinaire had to stay there and stayed in jail for a period of time. And Picasso, it kind of ruined their friendship a little bit.
I would say so.
Yeah. But 2 years later, the painting was discovered because he was trying to actually, he was trying to get it to one of the museums in Italy. And they were just like, wait a minute. And then when they saw what it was, they discovered. And so it was returned to France, of course, because it wasn't, it belonged to France.
Yeah, I read that he kept it under his bed or something, or under a tablecloth or something ridiculous. But I'm surprised they tracked him down.
Yeah, there's quite a few. There's a guy, I can't remember what TV show he worked on. It was like, I think he was like a writer on David Letterman or something, but he was like obsessed with the story. And there's a documentary all about it, and like him following in the footsteps, and then, seeing the family. Part of his family actually changed their name because they didn't want to be associated with this, because it was still like, it's just every time you hear the name, like, oh, hey, you the same name as the guy that stole the Mona Lisa.
What happened to him?
I think he went to jail. I can't remember what happened to him.
Yeah, I would imagine he went to jail, but I wonder how long.
Yeah. It was just really, you have to, I'll see if I can find that documentary and link it on the show notes so people could check it out. But it was really, the guy goes to Paris, and then he goes to Italy, and, kind of follows the whole path of the Mona Lisa and her coming back.
Lady Lisa.
Yeah. But she had she spends most of her time in France. She did over time leave. Before, when Napoleon was in power, she actually hung in his bedroom.
That's hilarious. And
Francois Premier did the same thing, of course. I mean, when it was Francois, there was no museum, but she would just hang in their bedroom, which is just, can you just imagine? It just seems so strange to think of. In 1962, she traveled to the United States. Jackie Kennedy and JFK had come to Paris, and they all fell in love with Jackie. And she convinced them to loan the Mona Lisa to the United States. So she came to New York, and she was there for a few weeks, and there was huge, huge lines to come and see it. In 1974, she went to go to Tokyo. On her return, they were flying over Russian airspace, and they were forced to land in Moscow. And they were like, nope, we're not leaving. We're keeping her for a little bit. And so they showed her Mona Lisa hung at the Pushkin Museum for a few weeks.
They borrowed her.
Yeah, they just were like, nope. They literally forced the plane to land.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Yeah. Today, of course, and they now say that she will never leave again. Like, that was the last time. She now stands, she has her very own room, basically. And if everybody has been there to see her, she's behind bulletproof glass, and they have a whole system to go in, and they have like your cattle. But she hangs in the room with some other incredibly stunning paintings that get completely overlooked because people go in there, they see the Mona Lisa, they take their selfie, and they walk out.
Yeah, it's crazy because you used to be able to at least just walk in, but now you have to wait in like roped lines to
Yeah.
see her, which is crazy.
Yeah, and they in 2019 they had moved her because they were redoing the room, they were repainting it. It's now this really pretty dark navy royal blue color. But they had moved her over to the Richelieu wing, and they moved her to the Salle Medici, where the Rubens paintings of Marie de Medici, one of my favorite rooms to go into. So I was not happy when they moved her over there. But they had created all of these like, stanchions, and you have to stand in this huge line just to get to the escalator. Then you get to the escalator and you stand in another huge line. Then you go in there and then you only have like 30 seconds to take your picture and go. Like you can't art people that appreciate art are not going to have the chance that they want to see the Mona Lisa.
No, definitely not.
No.
I think, yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, but they decided at that point that they figured out that there was a huge percentage of people that come to the Louvre only come to see the Mona Lisa. And I was like, seriously, I could have told you that.
Yeah, there was talk, like a friend was saying, like they should just build her own pavilion outside the Louvre that people can go to and then leave the Louvre alone.
Yeah.
But maybe that would take away a lot of money from the Louvre, so I don't think they'd ever do that.
Well, they have all these different like small rooms, that they do exhibitions in. Like put her in one of those and just like she's still like there within the building. Just put her in there, let people wait in line for that, and then leave the rest of the place to all the rest of us.
Yeah, because there's a lot of other paintings in that room with her that people can't really look at because of her.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of too bad. But when she was in the Richelieu wing, which usually is one of my favorites because it's like there's not many people, I avoided that like the plague, and I enjoyed the Denon wing because now there was hardly anybody in there because she was moved.
I always like the Napoleon apartments the best.
Yeah. Oh, they're so awesome. But that was our story about Mona Lisa. And our next lady, which is my favorite, is the winged Victoria Samothrace. And most people all have seen her. She stands at the top of a staircase and she has her great big wings. She was also used in that movie, which is the one with Audrey Hepburn, where she comes down the staircase in her red dress and says, "Take the picture, take the picture." But she is definitely my favorite. I have a magnet that I look at on my desk every single day that I'm looking at right now of her. I just love everything about that sculpture. It was founded on April 15th, 1863, by Charles Chapensois, who saw a fragment of a sculpture on a dig that they were doing on Samothrace. As they kept digging, the body of the statue and the wings started to appear. And they said that he described it as sheer marble muslin pressed by the wind against the living flesh.
Whoa.
Which is such a perfect way to describe it. They continued the dig, hoping to find her arms and her head, but they didn't uncover anything. But they did uncover some huge, large blocks of stones that they figure out later that she stood on. So after a lot of international arguing, they finally decided that she would leave and come to Paris. She arrived in Paris on May 11th, 1864.
Interesting. So she's been here for quite some time now. And I was always curious. She's one of my favorites too. And I thought I'd read that she used to be on the front of a boat. Is that correct?
They think because she's standing on those stones, they think that she probably was on a boat, and that she was Victory. And so she was, she kind of like, if you in your mind, put her arms and her head on, it's like Leo DiCaprio on the end of the Titanic.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, her arms are missing. That's true.
Yeah. So the curator of antiquities at the time, Adrienne de Longferre, was asked to oversee the whole restoration. She arrived in 118 pieces.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Her left wing, her lower body, and her upper torso were the only parts that were like intact. So she was first displayed in the Salle des Caryatides as just those 3 pieces. And that was it. Which would be so strange to see. At that time, they didn't plan on restoring anything. They were just, that was going to be it. That was going to just be how she looked. But then the next restorer decided to to actually like, no, let's kind of try to put this together. At the same time, architect Alois Auxerre returned to Samothrace, and they had left these large blocks back there because they didn't really know what they were. And they didn't, they were like, well, we don't need these. So he went back there and he discovered that they were actually the front of a ship and that she would be standing on. So they ended up bringing all those pieces back to Paris. And then now today, of course, that's what she's standing on. But in 1811, they did a second restoration, was undertaken by Félix Molien, and he used plaster to fill in the gaps and and metal braces to put her wings together. So when you go next time and look at it, and I've taken thousands of photos, so I'm sure I have some pictures of it. I'll post some pictures on my website. But you can see these metal braces that they have kind of holding the wings together.
Oh, I never noticed that. She's so breathtaking at the top of those steps.
It's it's just such an amazing sight. But they had used plaster as well. They covered one of the wings in plaster, her right wing, to kind of keep it all together, and using the metal braces. Her left wing was also, they used some marble because a lot of the wing was missing itself.
Yeah, I'm so glad they put it all the way back together, because her in like 3 pieces would not be nearly as interesting.
No, I mean, she's just so like, I love the way that, like, the way he described, the muslin pushing against the living flesh. It's just, I think there's so much movement to her, even though she's just a solid figure, because you could just imagine her in the wind, and this, her the fabric against her leg. It's just so gorgeous. And they actually originally thought they would put her outside.
Oh gosh, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, they were going to put her outside near where the carousel, the Arctic carousel is, but then they decided against that. So in 1883, in August, she was finally unveiled to the public.
Wow, it took a long
into the Louvre, and in the place that she is today. That's where she went in 1883. In 1930, the blocks were restored, and she was placed on top of those.
Gosh, she's been there a long time.
Yeah, she's been there a long time. But in September 1939, when they were evacuating the art from the Louvre, she was boarded up in a crate, and they created basically this huge, and those steps are, there's a lot of steps that are in front of her, and she was basically slowly pulled down those steps.
Whoa.
Which I can't even imagine. I mean, even today, it would be frightening to see that. They must have been terrified that it was just going to go like tumbling over.
And so heavy.
Yeah. So heavy. So I don't know if I'll look at the picture. I think that I'm wondering if the blocks below came, and I think it was just her. I think it was just the statue herself.
That's fascinating. Because they had to hide the art from the Nazis and stuff.
Yeah, so they took most of the art out. That's one of my the favorite stories. But they boxed everything up, and they moved it all over, a lot of it around the Loire Valley, because that was the free area at the time. And a lot of the curators went with them. So she ended up going down to the Loire Valley, to the Chateau de Valençay, and where the curators were there to keep an eye on her. She was, of course, there with our other lady we're going to talk about, Venus de Milo.
Interesting. I love that. I didn't know anything about her.
Yeah. So in 1950, they ended up finding her hand. It's missing a few fingers, but then after a lot of negotiations, it was given to France. And if you go see her and you're looking straight at her, the stairs to the left, there's a little glass box on a stand, and it has her hand in it.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. I took 1,000 pictures of that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's like this and the Venus de Milo, I can't even imagine them having arms and a head. Like that just would seem strange.
It's not as pretty.
It's not as pretty. No. But she's definitely one of my favorites. I absolutely love her every single time I go to the Louvre, which is a lot. I basically sit there for about an hour and move around from each corner, just sitting there and looking at her as I watch everybody take a selfie and walk off.
Take pictures of that.
I know. It's like, no, turn around. Do you know what you're looking at? This is amazing. Yeah. But our last lady to talk about, of course, is the Venus de Milo. Those are the three ladies. I actually had a whole list of about 10 of them I wanted to talk about, but I realized this would be a 2-hour podcast.
We'll do them on other series.
We'll do some other ones. But Venus was found on April 8th, 1820. All these things happen in April. She was found in a Greek village called Trippi on the island of Milos. A farmer, I'm going to butcher his name, Yorga Kentrotas. My Greek isn't good. He was actually, it was near his farm, and he was looking for some stones to use for his farm, and he ended up uncovering this statue. So he ended up telling somebody, a French naval officer that he had known. He had told him about this. The naval officer ends up coming over and looks at it. And they let the Marquis de Rivière, who was the French ambassador to the Ottoman court in Constantinople, that, he had told him, hey, we found this thing. So he comes over and sees this. He convinces the farmer to sell it to him for 1,000 francs.
What?
At that time. And so he sells it to him. And so now, now the French own it. So they finally get it. They get her dug up. She was also in 2 different pieces. They ended up finding some arms and a hand there close by as well. But they thought that the texture was completely different from the statue. So they left them there. They were super rough. And her upper torso was really smooth. So they didn't think it was a part of her. So they left him there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and then they disappeared after that. But Rivière brought her back to Paris and gave her to Louis XVIII in 1821, who in turn gave it to the Louvre.
He's like, thanks for that. No,
yeah,
thanks.
Thank you. But she was once draped in jewelry. She had a bracelet, earrings, and a headband that were stolen long before she was ever found. And if you look at her really closely, like if you look at her ear, you could tell where those earrings were.
So she was covered in jewelry.
She had a bunch of different jewelry.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And why are these statues underground? Like they're so old that like they're just like, do they bury them?
A lot of these things were done in like she's was created between 130 to 100 BC.
Wow.
So, they're so old that I think just at some point, it's like, it's basically how it is in America. Where it's like, we don't really care about the old buildings. We're just going to tear them down and put up something new. So it's probably like that. They probably had periods of time where they're like, who cares about this Greek statuary? Throw it in a pit.
So you think they literally just threw them into pits, or
maybe,
you think
I don't know,
moved around them,
or they just ended up, because she was kind of found like also within a niche. So there was, it was definitely maybe like it was some sort of a part of a building or something. Yeah, it's very strange. But she ended up, it comes back to Paris. Over time, we know her as the Venus de Milo. It's Venus de Milo. It was actually Melo, but now it's Milo. But they also think that maybe it was Amphitrite, who was the goddess of the sea, who was like a beloved goddess of that area. So they're not really sure because she doesn't have any arms, because a lot of times their attributes would be in their arms, like if they were holding a sphere or an apple or something, and her arms are missing.
So we'll never know.
No. So she's called Venus because they say she's like this perfect image of, the beauty of a woman, the ideal woman.
I mean, she's pretty good looking. I don't know if she's perfection. She doesn't have any arms, but
I am sure that Wing Victory's face would have been much more beautiful.
I concur. Yeah. I've been to the Greek island of Milos, and I didn't put those two together.
You could have done some digging around. Look for those arms.
I could find her jewelry or something. Yeah. It's an amazing island. It's where all the local Greeks go. It's beautiful.
You could have found a pinky finger, but
I'd be real
up for life.
I'm going back.
Yeah. So she was created between 130 to 100 BC, which
Wow.
was the Hellenistic period. But at that time in France and in Europe, the classical period was the rage. That was the huge thing. So they ended up actually saying that she was from the classical period, which is before Hellenistic period, until 1951.
Wow.
Yeah. And she had come, like when they found her, she was standing on this base, and on the base was some Greek lettering and it had a year on it. Well, by when she left Greece to the time she got to Paris, when she got into Paris in the Louvre, and then the bottom of the statue disappeared.
It disappeared?
It disappeared. So it's a little strange because it's like, did it go away because they didn't want people to know the actual, time frame that she was created?
Maybe someone just broke it on the way and they're like, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Probably, yeah. Jacques probably was just like pushing it down the hall and was like, whoops.
That was an accident. No big deal.
Yeah. But she's 6'8". So she's pretty tall.
She's an NBA player.
She was 2 pieces. And if you look at kind of just below her, kind of right at her waist where her skirt is, you could see actually the seam of where she was attached. There's also a hole underneath her right breast that was filled. So it gives them the idea that her right arm was probably bent. And then that hole was there to hold, a metal rod that would hold her arm in place.
It's so shocking they found everything. They just left it.
Like I know but maybe those arms weren't her arms. Obviously we never know, but it is kind of strange. Like did she just get broken and then they threw her in the hole? Like, oh, well, she's not any good. She doesn't have any arms.
Yeah.
Forget it. But she stands also in the classic pose of contrapposto, which is she has her right foot, her weight on her right foot. Her left foot is slightly raised. Her right foot actually had to be completely replaced too, because I think maybe her right foot was attached to the base and disappeared. So her right foot ended up having to get recreated. And so that's the one that we see today was done in the 19th century.
I had thought they found her arms because I thought they put her arms on display next to her now or something.
I don't think. Yeah, it was just the ones that they left behind.
Yeah.
And one of the restorers was actually going to put arms on her, and they all decided against it, which is, putting the pieces of Winged Victory together, but they're putting it together with the pieces that they have is one thing. Adding and creating parts that they weren't. I mean, how would you even do that? I mean, it would just be whoever the restorer was, their idea of what they thought they should look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wouldn't be real at all.
Yeah. When she was discovered and she came to the Louvre was kind of going through a difficult time at that point because all of the stuff, this was after Napoleon was out of power. And he had looted so much stuff. He looted 2,065 paintings and 130 statues, plus a ton of bas-reliefs and drawings. And all of those countries wanted the stuff back. So
oh, wow.
The Louvre was sent. Those are the numbers of the stuff the Louvre was sending back to these different countries. So the Louvre was filled with all of these things that now, they had empty walls and empty rooms. So they were kind of going through a little bit of a PR crisis. And so Venus shows up. And so that really helped them. They pushed the fact that they had her there. And it really helped them at that time get a little bit more attention from the public.
Is that why she became famous?
Yeah, a lot of that was because, they really pushed her image up until, even through like the 1950s.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I was always wondering why she was famous. I'm like, she's old statue with no arms, but don't we have a lot of those?
Yeah, I wasn't, the first couple times I went there, I never was like, oh my God, I got to see the Venus de Milo. Like I wanted to see Winged Victory. I thought, well, I'll see Mona Lisa just to see her. But then after that, I was just like, man, fine. But, there's just a million other things to look at in the Louvre. But the Venus was never one like, oh my God, I have to see it.
Yeah, I'm wondering why she became such a big deal.
Yeah. In 1870, during the Prussian siege, she was boxed up and hidden at a police station. They ended up nearby. They ended up making a fake wall of, they basically bricked her in behind this wall. And during the commune, they actually set the building on fire, but she survived because she was in this crate and then she was behind a brick wall.
That's so wild.
Yeah. And so then she ended up coming back. Of course, during World War II, she left with Wing Victory, with her sister, Wing Victory, and stayed together until they returned to the Louvre.
They were chilling in a castle.
Chilling in a castle. Maybe it's like that movie, you know, what is that, Night at the Museum? Maybe they all wake up at night and they're just like walking around.
I mean, that would be way more interesting.
I know. Like she and Wing Victory, like Wing Victory just running into the wall. She can't see anything.
I just like, it's so interesting, the stories of them taking all this art away and hiding it. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, we should do a whole episode just about that because it's a fascinating story. And the work of the curators and the directors of the museum that they did on that is amazing. There was a book, I think it's called Finding Mona Lisa or Saving Mona Lisa. That was about that. I've read quite a few books about that period of time at the Louvre. And it's just really fascinating. The men and the work that they did in 4 days to empty out the Louvre is just amazing.
4 days? There's
4
no
days,
way.
and then kept, they didn't lose any art to the Germans.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So that's our ladies of the Louvre.
That's our ladies of the Louvre. And, you know, it's my birthday, so I had to share my very favorite place.
Well, I found that very fascinating, and I think it was a great way to celebrate your birthday because it's your passion.
It
the Louvre
is
like your favorite place in the world. So that's your birthday cake right there.
That's my birthday cake. Yes, I'll blow out the candle.
Blow out the candle and happy birthday. And everyone listening, don't forget to send Claudine a little bit of love on this big day. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Paris History Avec Hemingway. If you want to find out some more, you could always find me on my Instagram page, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that's BLEU, as in the French way to spell it. And each day I post a daily history lesson about a person or a place or something in Paris, or it's lots of fun facts. And then also at ClaudineHemingway.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter there.